Hey and namaste everyone. How are you today? Well, here in Sweden things have settled down. The weather is a lot nicer and it's finally come into a place where we can say that spring is here. But it's taking a very long time and we're in the middle of April and it's still a little bit chilly, but it's getting better slowly. So the subject I'm going to talk about today is how to live an authentic life. So I think this is an interesting question because I think living an authentic life is not something that all of us do. I think to be authentic with ourselves, 100% authentic, is quite difficult for most of us. So this is why I wanted to talk about this subject today, about how do we actually go about living an authentic life. So I should really start off by saying, what does it mean to be authentic? What is authenticity when we talk about how we live? Well, I think for me, authenticity in your life means being as honest with yourself as you possibly can be about who you are, about where you are, about your background, about your history, everything about yourself, that you are very honest and real and true to yourself when it concerns this particular subject. And I think that's why it can be quite difficult for us, because it's quite difficult to be totally honest with ourselves about all aspects of our lives. The thing about not being authentic or not being honest with yourself is that it can cause us problems in different areas of our lives. Because the thing about not being authentic means that you are at some point not telling truths. You are lying. So you are lying outside of yourself, but you're also, worse than anything, lying to yourself. And I think when you start to lie outside of yourself, that can get you into a lot of difficulties. But before you start lying to yourself, before you start lying outside of yourself, you have to have started lying to yourself first. And I think for you to be able to continue lying outside of yourself, you have to continue lying to yourself. So you cannot be authentic. You cannot live authentically if you are lying to yourself. And then, of course, lying outside of yourself. So I think there's a big difference between lying to yourself and lying outside of yourself. And so I want to go a little bit into that right now. But before I do that, I'm going to give you an example of my own self, how I wasn't able to be authentic with myself and how that got me into trouble. I lost friends and so on and so on. So the thing about me, my situation was that I wasn't able to be fully authentic with myself about how old I was. This went on for quite a few years, many years. And what I would do, stupidly enough, is I would, for example, tell half of my friends that I was, for example, 35 years old. But that wasn't the truth of how old I was. I was actually 36 at that point. But instead of telling them that I was 36, I would tell them that I was 35. So I would tell half of my friends, or some of my friends, that I was 35, and the other half, I would tell that I was 36. You ask yourself, why would you just shave off 1 year of your life? Why would you lie by just 1 year? Well, inside of myself, I didn't want to lie. But what was compelling me to lie, what was making me lie, was the fact that I wasn't happy with where I was at my age. So at 36 years old, I wasn't happy with where I found myself in life. And so because of that, I shaved off a year of my life to make things seem a little bit better, just that little bit better, because I was, a year younger than I truly was. When you listen to this, you think to yourself, this is daft, isn't it? It's completely nuts. But for me, it wasn't nuts. For me, it was something that I needed to do. But as you can imagine, getting into conversations with people about age, used to bring a lot of nervousness in me. I used to hate gatherings with a lot of people because inevitably the question of age always came up. And when I was in a situation where I had given half of my friends the true facts and the other half I had lied to, it made things very, very difficult. I couldn't relax. I couldn't be happy. I couldn't just, be myself. I was constantly on my guard for that dreaded question of how old are you coming up. Well, why wasn't I happy with myself? What was it that was causing me to shave off 1 year? Well, the point was that at the time I was single, I was unmarried, I didn't have any children. And at 35 or 36, I felt that this is something I should have had at that age. So I felt embarrassed by the fact that I didn't have it, because a lot of my friends at that age already had that. They had the families, they had the kids. And at 35 or 36, I was still struggling to find that. And so that aspect of myself, I hadn't fully accepted. I didn't want to accept it. And so it made things very, very difficult for me, because then I had to lie to myself about my age. And then I lied outside of myself to some of my friends. I lied to the friends that I thought I wouldn't often see. And so that conversation wouldn't be something I would have to deal with on a regular basis. But for the friends that I saw all the time, the ones that were very close to me, I told them my real age. But this got me into trouble. And it lost me some very, very important business contacts, as it happens. So for some of my life, I lived in Shanghai. I lived in Shanghai for 9 years. I worked for companies there, but I also had my own business. I had my own business for almost 5 years. And I had a business contact who was a very, very, very generous person, someone who really helped me so much in my business. But that person, I didn't tell the truth of how old I was to. That person, I shaved off a year of my age. And then I had a business partner, a business colleague who came to Shanghai to visit me. Now, I had introduced these two companies together. So I had my company, I had my friend's company, and I had my business colleague's company. I had made us into like a little unit where we worked together. I supplied fabric. My other friend also supplied fabric. And the company in the UK bought from both of us. And so this business partnership was working actually quite well. We were all getting business from each other, and it was working very well. Well, one day the UK supplier, the UK customer came to Shanghai, and all three of us went out for dinner. And when we were having this dinner, I felt nervous. I felt nervous because I knew that inevitably the question of age would come up, or the subject of age would come up, and I would have to be honest or I would be in trouble. So as we carried on with our dinner, the dreaded moment came when the conversation went around age. And they started talking about, how old they were and how old they were when they did certain things. And I kept quiet. I tried to not get involved too much in that conversation. But eventually it came to me. And my friend said, Jacqueline, you are 36, let's say. And the other business partner said, what? I thought you were 35. I wanted to die. I seriously wanted to die because I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? And so I tried to just fob it off and said, oh yes. No, actually, yeah. I'm 36 really. Yeah, I'm 36. It's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal. I say that sometimes to people that I'm 35, but actually I'm 36. Well, this supplier took it very, very badly. So during the dinner, she was absolutely fine, and we carried on our dinner and we finished everything. The next day she rang me and she gave me a right old bollocking. She screamed and she shouted at me and told me that I had broken her trust, that she had known me for over 2 years, and in all that time I'd been lying to her. Why had I lied to her? She was so disappointed in me, and I was so disappointed in myself. All I could do in that moment was just apologize and just keep saying sorry. I'm sorry. I know it was silly. I'm sorry. I should have told you the truth. There was nothing I could really do because I had disappointed her beyond belief. And that broke our relationship. It broke our business partnership. It broke our relationship. From that moment on, she stopped talking to me. And I wasn't able to do business with her anymore. Well, that was a big lesson learnt. And when I thought about it, I thought to myself, why do I keep doing that? But at the time when this was happening, so this was around 2011, 2012, like this, I wasn't able to come to the answers because I didn't understand myself. I didn't understand what was pushing me to do this. But the answers came much later. And then I understood why I was doing this. And the answer is what I said, is that I just wasn't happy with where I was in my life. So I shaved off a little bit of my age so I could just feel better about myself, about the fact that I didn't have those things that I thought I should have at that particular age. So when you listen to this story, you might think to yourself, my God, I mean, why? It's so stupid. It is stupid. But somebody else might be going through a similar situation, or you yourself might be going through a situation where you're not able to be authentic with yourself. You're not able to tell the truth to yourself. And the point about that is, when you're not telling the truth to yourself, you have to tell lies outside of yourself. Because everything starts on the inside. And what you do on the inside, you will also do on the outside. So because I was lying to myself, that it was okay to lie about my age, I was able to lie outside of myself, and I lost a very valuable friend and also business partner. So let's have a look at this whole idea about lying to yourself. So lying to yourself is the worst that you can do, because if you lie outside of yourself, you can actually, in some situations, get away with it. But you can't get away with lying to yourself. Lying to yourself stops your potential for growth. It stops your potential for change. You can't change anything in your life if you're lying about it, right? So it's very difficult for you to be able to take stock of where you are and decide that you're going to change something if you're lying about any aspect of your life. It could be like me, that you're lying about your age, lying about your relationship status. You could be lying about, how much you earn. You could be lying about where you come from. You could be, there's so many different things that you could be lying about, where you live. And throughout my life, I've done so much of this. I've lied in different aspects of my life because I wasn't satisfied with it. I wasn't happy. I didn't want people to know the truth about me. But that causes problems because it stops your potential for growth. And that's the biggest problem. And then it also stops your potential for change. So you're not able to change anything if you don't admit to yourself what it is that's really going on with you. Okay, so lying to yourself is very detrimental to your well-being, because it causes you then to lie outside of yourself, and that can cause so much problems for you in society. Obviously then, my situation is very minor in terms of, I lied to a business partner. It lost me the business. It lost me the partner. But it's not something that was overly dangerous for me in my situation. But for somebody else, it could be quite dangerous. You could be lying about money. Lying about money, cheating, saying that you have more than you actually have, saying that you have less than you actually have. You could be doing all sorts of dirty deals because of the fact that you are lying to yourself. So accepting where you are, accepting who you are, accepting every aspect of yourself is very, very important, because that's when you become authentic. Being able to look at yourself and say, yes, I'm African. I have, short, knotty hair. I have brown skin. My parents are from Africa. I grew up in an estate. I've lived in many countries. I don't have any children, something I wish I had had. I wasn't married for a very long time. All those things about myself I've had to come to terms with. And there could be aspects of yourself that you need to also come to terms with. You need to come to terms with, you need to accept, you need to let it sink in that this is really who you are. Because from that point of acceptance, then you can start to make any changes that you want to make or that you need to make. If you don't accept, then you're lying. And when you're lying, that means no change can happen. So you have to go into yourself. You have to look at who you are. You have to look at where you are. You have to accept all aspects, the good, the bad, the not so good, the ugly, the things you don't want to see, the things that you want to hide, the things you wish were not true. All those things you have to accept about yourself. And when you accept, that takes time, obviously. But when you accept and you see that, okay, actually this is, something I don't like about myself, you can change it. Then you can change it. You can take constructive steps in order for you to make the changes that you need to make. You can't change your history. That you can't do. But when you accept it, it becomes less of a burden to you. I think it's very difficult when we're young, because a lot of these things, we feel pressure to be something that we're not. Our friends tease us. We maybe get bullied. It's not cool. It's cooler to be, from somewhere else. It's cooler to live in this particular neighborhood. It's cooler to have a dad that does this for a job, or a mother that does that for a job. It's cooler to have, the latest of everything. But that might not be your situation. That might not be your circumstance. So as a child, you feel a lot of pressure to conform and to be in the group. I can understand that. I was also exactly in that situation and in that position. But as you get older, you have the consciousness, you have the understanding to realize that you're no longer a child, and those pressures are not the same as they were. But of course, we start the lying process from our childhood. We start, lying to ourselves, lying outside of ourselves as children. And I work with children right now. And in some situations, you ask if they've done something that they shouldn't have done, and they'll look right you in the eyes and tell you, I haven't done it, or I didn't do it, it wasn't me. They'll look you straight in the eye and tell you a blatant lie. And, you have a discussion, you have an argument, you go backwards and forwards, and they'll just keep denying it. You know that they've done it. They know that they've done it, but they keep arguing. In the end, you just give up. You say, okay, fine. You know what? It's okay. When they leave, or as they're walking away from you, or as you're walking away, they get patted on the back by their friends. Their friends say, wow, that was amazing that you were able to lie so well and get away with it. So it becomes cool to lie, especially lying to an older person, lying to somebody in authority. It feels really good that you were able to get one over on them. As a child, it's okay. It feels good. The problem is that you carry on as you get older. You carry on lying as you get older, and then it becomes a problem. So as an adult, it's important to take that inner journey. It's important to start looking at who you are especially if you've got into some sort of difficulties. So being able to say sorry is also a big part. If you can say sorry for telling those lies that you did, that will be really helpful. And of course, when you take the inner journey, you start to learn the why of why you did whatever it is that you did. And I think without knowing why you did things, it's very, very difficult to stop doing them. So if you don't know why that you're lying, it's very difficult to stop yourself from continuing to lie. So for me, the why of everything is important. And you can learn the whys through taking the inner journey, going inside of yourself, starting to peel back the facts of who you really are and why you are the way that you are. So if you really want to be authentic with yourself, if you want to live authentically, you have to start stripping back the layers of who you are. You have to start to know and understand yourself. You have to start to accept every part of yourself, accept where you are, accept your background, your history, your parents, your education, all of that. Once you can start accepting that, then you can start to live authentically. When somebody asks you something, there's no need to lie because you have accepted everything about yourself. The thing about lying is you only lie when there's some part of you that you're trying to hide. You know, some part of your history that you don't want people to know about. So you have to lie about it. Okay, so unraveling everything about yourself, accepting it all, means that there's no reason for you to lie about any aspect of yourself. When somebody asks you, you feel proud of who you are. Then you can start to live authentically. You feel free. Authenticity in who you are and your life brings so much freedom to you. Unlike me, you don't have to be nervous every time somebody asks you a question because you're trying to hide something. You don't have to be like that. If you accept every part of yourself, nobody can destabilize you. You feel secure. You feel strong in everything about you. Yeah, you start to feel insecure when you know that you're hiding something. And you hide something when you don't accept something about yourself. So I hope that makes sense. Living authentically is not easy, but everyone can do it. You have to work towards doing it. You have to work towards living it. I mean, everything I talk about is a process. Okay? Life is a process. So my name is Jacqueline van der Pooy. You can learn more about me at www.calloftheinnervoice.com. That's my website. I also have a podcast which is called the Life is Relationship Podcast. And I've also done an episode talking about this same subject on my podcast that you can listen to. If you need any help with relationship issues, if you're uncertain about how to go forward in your life, if you want to live a more authentic life yourself and want help to do that, do get in touch. www.calloftheinnervoice.com. It's been wonderful speaking to you today, and I really wish you a wonderful rest of the day. All the best. Namaste.